What if we wrote electronic music the same way we'd write a string quartet, where each part had to be strong and independent enough to stand on its own? Last time I tried to show you a new, admittedly kind of old way to think about chord progressions that people really aren't using that much anymore. I tried to clarify something from my ebook that mentioned something about horizontal versus vertical chord writing, and I even tried to turn that into a banger, even though I'm way too old to be using words like that. Well, today I'm going back to my own choral and organ playing roots, and I'm going to show you how to use a horizontal progression, that very same one in fact, to write a quartet of sorts, but not a string quartet, because I have a lot of synthesizers, so a synth quartet, I guess. And as with any of my experiments, it could end absolutely horribly. Now I'm just going to change shirts, grow my hair out a little bit, and pretend like I did this all on the same day. My idea for this is going to be Pro 3 on the bass, which is not super bassy at the beginning. Almost flute-like. The matriarch is going to be doing the top voice or the soprano. I think I want to experiment with the iridium on the inner voices, so like the tenor and the alto voices, because it can do some weird granular stuff. Hey! That was pretty good. What do I need to do? I think next I need to record the same two parts, but it goes into a kind of 4-part section. It's really hard to stay together when you're recording with no click like that, and also trying to do some sort of expressive push and pull with the tempo. I need a conductor. It's harder than I thought, actually. I think I want a grungier bass on this. No. A little too gnarly. I'm going to put myself out of my own misery and record this to a click. Ultimately, it would be better with like 4 players. But the benefit of still writing it in this way is that I can provide expression for each voice independently in a way that you can't even do with like Poly Aftertouch or MPE or anything like that. That's more like it. It's got a little sub to it this time. I'm going to do this exactly like I tell my church choir every Wednesday, which is whenever I have a held note that holds for a long time, I'm going to kind of crescendo through that. And with a synthesizer, what I'm going to do to achieve that is open the filter. We don't want to just sit stagnant on a held note for a long time. As an organist, I really don't have much choice in that matter. But we can inject some life into it with synthesizers as well, because there's so many tools for expression, we just kind of have to set up what the parameters are ahead of time with the patch. Let me record some like runaway feedback effects that I can use later. I'm just going to call that feedback. And I'm just going to save that for later. Iridium time. We still have inner voices to record, but I have to set up my camera so that you can see that. Okay. Oh, look at that. That's an iridium if I've ever seen one. I actually find it hard to write this kind of music on synthesizers because I love sound design so much that I always design patches that are way too complicated and where I can just hold 1 or 2 notes and it creates like an entire soundscape. But in this case, we actually have to simplify the patches themselves just a little bit because there's more interesting stuff happening in the part writing over here. So I'm having to think a bit more like they're orchestral instruments rather than kind of their own sound making machines that can do stuff that no one's ever heard before. Now, even though I have a polyphonic synthesizer over here in the Iridium with Poly Aftertouch, I'm still going to record it in one voice at a time. My whole point of this whole exercise was to show that each independent part can stand on its own or can stand with just one other part much more easily than if you're thinking in vertical chord progressions, or you're thinking in blocked chords rather than a bunch of horizontal melodies that all come together to create the vertical. It's already going horribly. I think I can live with that. Let's find another patch that I've made. Don't think that one's gonna work. I don't hate that. Let's hear just the inner voices. So the whole idea is that any two of these voices should work together, right? And I think they kind of do. I'm going to slap this MS-20 filter on that whole group. I'm just going to go in and do a little automation just to accentuate those moving parts that I was talking about, like the alto. Oh look, it's a different day, and I'm clearly still wearing the same shirt. I wanted to make some adjustments to the end, taking some of the parts that we've already used. And that's the thing about this kind of writing, it really allows you to use every part of the parts. So here at the end, I think I want some Iridium. So originally I had the G doubled here, and I don't need that, so I'm just searching around for other notes that could fill out the chord. And so now I have which is stronger because no notes are doubled. Actually, first I'm going to render this in with the Iridium. Changing just the bass note can change everything that happens over the bass note. So I'm going to experiment with some different bass lines here and see if I can get some more variation out of this chord progression or part writing that started this whole thing off. Oh yeah, I really liked this tenor part. Might have to alter it just a little bit, but I really like the shape of it, the way that it leaps up and provides a moment of emphasis there, even in the inner parts. I'm just going to play around with that just a little bit. I'm not totally sold on that patch, but maybe. may need to simplify it. Okay, maybe that could be interesting. So what I'm essentially doing is taking the alto from one part with the tenor from another part in that 4-part section and trying to see if I can make those work together. Doesn't quite work. I think I'm going to take the alto part and just shift it over one beat so that when the other parts are holding, that part is moving, and vice versa. I think I want that to be less percussive and more sustained. Moment of truth. Let's listen to the whole thing and just see what in the world is going to happen. Probably won't be releasing that, but hopefully you can see some of the benefits of this type of writing. It's something that I like to think about all the time to make my parts much stronger, and it has the real benefit of developing that sense of independence for each of the parts so that you can then rearrange them and develop them more later on. Get a lot more mileage out of your material. So if you've never thought about chord writing this way, just give it a try. Hopefully it'll spark something new and inspire you to move in some direction that you might not have otherwise.